What is up, everyone? Coffee Break is back with another video, and you know, there's nothing positive that's going to come out of this video, unfortunately, because the 49ers were they just got their ass handed to them on Monday night with Josh Allen at the helm. I already knew that this game was going to be a tough one. It was already difficult when you factor in a mobile quarterback like Josh Allen, and the Niners just struggling with mobile quarterbacks. Seems like forever now. But it is what it is. Styles make fights, and the Niners just couldn't match up. Well, they don't match up with the Bills very well based on how they play, who they have available. And so here we are on a somber Monday night recording this, and I hate to do it, but it's kind of like a venting session, so I'd said the hell with it. When we talk about defense, right, because they couldn't slow down Josh Allen at all. Josh Allen had the entire time in the pocket. And I honestly don't blame the defensive linemen. I actually think they played hard. They only came up with a sack, but, that was to my surprise. I mean, I was surprised to even see that sack from Deion Jordan. The reality is the Bills spread the offense out and made Richard Sherman, made Jason Verrett cover. Dante Johnson playing in replace of K'Wan Williams and Emmanuel Mosley, who were both out. Jamar Taylor, injury really did hurt in this one as well. Injuries just piling up. They have no true nickel corner. And Tavarius Moore did make some mistakes. So you kind of miss Jaquiski Tart in this one. But hey, I still believe in Tavarius Moore. I don't think, that is nothing to be alarming. I just think he needs the reps to, play better at safety. But it didn't matter. It did not matter. The 49ers just couldn't slow them down. They couldn't blitz because Josh Allen is so damn good at evading pressure. So, yeah, I really felt like the Niners had no idea what to do. Robert Saleh he kind of just tried his best with what he had. And I know a lot of folks were like, why don't he just, mixes it up a little bit? I think he really did try. But Josh Allen is in a different zone this year. I saw it on tape, and I'll continue to say it. The way he was playing, you almost have to be lucky than good, because first of all, the Bills should have been 9-2 coming in. If it wasn't for this, Kyler Murray Hail Mary to finish that game, they should have won. They should have beat the Cardinals. And so, yeah, here we are. Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills. And to my surprise, the Bills continue to run the football. I bet they wanted to be the more aggressive team. They wanted to be the more physical team. And the 49ers, somewhat, at least for half a quarter to a quarter, were sticking around. They're like, we're not going to be bullied on this football field. And, it didn't matter at that point. The Bills were like, okay, we'll just spread them out and, we'll give you our best shot. And so Richard Sherman getting burnt, Jason Verrett getting burnt, that was not a good sighting. But, let's look at some of the stats. Josh Allen, 32, catches on 40 attempts threw 40 times, right? 375 yards. I felt like he threw for 500, but it was like a slow grind. They were just eating up clock, and it was crazy. 4 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. I don't even think the Niners got close to getting a pick. I think there was one pick that was on Warner, but it was basically a penalty on Richard Sherman, so it didn't really count. He had all day, and the catches, there were nobody in the vicinity. Beasley was just catching balls from the slot. Nobody could cover Beasley. There's nobody, not even if Emmanuel Mosley gets in here, that can cover Beasley. Maybe K'Wan Williams if he's healthy, but the Niners just didn't have that tonight. And so he was just eating everything, finding holes in the zone. And it was just a pitch and catch of game for the Bills. And that is just a rude awakening for this defense who, maybe people felt like there were a couple pieces missing. But in reality, when we face mobile quarterbacks who can escape pressure, that's when your secondary really shows up who they really are. The Niners secondary are, if they don't have a pass rush or a stationary quarterback there that, that isn't able to extend the play, the 49ers are fine, like a Jared Goff a week ago. But when you talk about the Patrick Mahomes, the Russell Wilsons, the, now Josh Allens of the world, Kyler Murray's even, they struggle. They struggle, and I think you have to consider that because now, like, you're going to be facing these quarterbacks more and more. That stationary quarterback is kind of being removed because is an element you need. You need in order to be dynamic, be a explosive offense. And so the Niners, maybe foreshadowing a little bit, may consider or may want to think about drafting themselves a mobile quarterback that can, first of all, withstand all these big NFL hits, and then number two, that could just like go off script. A lot of the times these guys pretty much are banking or are hoping, I would think, to just go off script, because in all honesty, that's where the chunk plays are at. Defenses are too smart if you're just trying to, 5-step drop them and then deliver the football. They're too smart now. You have to go off script. And that's where the playmakers live. So Nick Mullins, on the other hand, 26 catches on 39 attempts. So that's kind of a crazy stat in itself. Nick Mullins was one throw away from throwing exactly the same amount as Josh Allen. That is crazy. I know the game got out of hand, and I kind of wrote that in my notes. We eventually abandoned the run, trying to catch up, right? And I felt like the 49ers, a key to the game for the Niners were to run the football and control time of possession. But the Bills did that. So at that point, Niners had no shot. If the Bills were eating up the clock, scoring touchdowns, while the Niners were trying to score quick, but then, ended up either kicking a field goal or, turning the ball over. So, yeah, Nick Mullins on 39 attempts, 316 yards. A lot of this was, towards the end of the game when it didn't even matter. 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. So Nick Mullins, again, showed up and reminded us why he's a backup quarterback. Head scratchers on offense. We talked about obviously Nick Mullins right now, but I didn't see this is just, obviously off the top of my head. I haven't rewatched any of the film or anything. This is literally hours after the game. So I'm thinking off the top, we didn't see enough Raheem Mostert. There was times, Tevin Coleman, I tweeted this out, he got like 2 touches too many. 2 touches, actually, I have it in front of me, minus 11 yards. On 2 touches, and one of them was at the goal line where he just got mollywopped. I mean, he hasn't seen any play all year. He's been hurt, and I mean, yeah, I get we're getting players back, but sometimes you have to just go with what's working, the recipe that's working, and the Niners just it's all Kyle Shanahan. I just don't understand it at times. So Mostert, yeah, not getting enough carries. 9 carries, 42 yards. Jeff Wilson Jr., I do love Jeff Wilson Jr. He can be explosive. He could be this physical bully at the goal line. This is where he scores so many touchdowns, right? But I feel like the Niners need to do a similar approach where you want to spread this Bills defense and have them, go chasing after Debo. Debo didn't even get that much of a play. I mean, yeah, he got some catches late into the game. It was too little too late at that point. He got 6 receptions on 73 yards. But where was that, dynamic running game. Where was Debo with the jet sweeps, with some screens? I felt like Kyle Shanahan really set up Nick Mullins for disaster at that point. He doesn't have his running game, then you can't rely on Nick Mullins to deliver against Josh Allen on Monday Night Football. Like, you have to almost force your way to run the football all the time. Control the clock. Even if you're down 7-0, control the clock, be the bruiser. And, I think Kyle Shanahan shied away from that big time. Let's see, what else do I have? We talked about abandoning the run, Debo not getting enough touches, Tevin Coleman getting too many touches. And, that's pretty much it. I guess I do want to talk about some bright spots, at least. Brandon Ayuk being one of them, though he did make a mistake, which caused Nick Mullins an interception pretty much. So that was on him. But Brandon Ayuk is slowly but surely being the 49ers' number one wide receiver. I said this going into the year. I felt like Brandon Ayuk was going to have a better rookie season than Deebo Samuel did last year. And I think that's holding up to be true. And he's missed a few games due to COVID. One of them due to injury, but a couple occasions have been due to COVID. And Brandon Ayuk is showing you that he can be that number one receiver, while Deebo can be like that gadget player, that Kyle Shanahan can use, though he didn't use him in this game like that. But that's exactly what you'd want. And I'm sure if you ask, the 49ers what they would have expected from Ayuk this year, I'm sure it exceeded their expectations, the way he's picking up the offense, the way he's just playing. He looks like a veteran out there. So I'm really happy. That's kind of a bright spot in this game. He had another touchdown in this one as well. And then, as bad as Nick Mullins looked, I believe we asked too much of him in this game, which I don't think it's his fault. I think if we would have, I think he was playing well in the first half, but because the game got so lopsided, we asked to just throw more, and that's obviously not his game. I really think he didn't play terribly up until that point. So just wanted to point that out. Honestly, on offense, there's really not much to say. Offensive line struggled yet again. Right guard is a revolving door, which is never a good sign, even with a starting quarterback, let alone a backup. So that's a recipe for failure almost 80% of the time. Obviously, that's a made-up stat. But when the right side has been struggling and there's no consistency, then you start switching up players. Like, that's going to mess with people's, psyche. That's going to mess with people's confidence. That I'll just leave it at that. Defensive line, like I touched on, had one sack, Deion Jordan. That could have been maybe a game-changing play, but Josh Allen just said, nope, first down, next play. But, we touched on Niners not having a pass rush. And pass rush typically could mean sacking the quarterback, getting them into pressure. I honestly felt the Niners were doing a good job pressuring Josh Allen. The difference is Josh Allen is so good at running away from that pressure or avoiding it that he makes it look so easy that on screen it makes you think that there's no pressure. But there was. Like, if it was Jared Goff, I felt like he would have had 2 interceptions in this game. But the fact that it was Josh Allen, he looked as cool as a cucumber in that pocket. And there was times where the Niners were kind of collapsing on it. But, like I said, he's so good at just rolling right, throwing to the sidelines, had the 49ers covering the entire field. It was just, I knew like midway through probably the second quarter, maybe the start of the second quarter, it was like the second or third drive for the Bills. I'm like, this is going to be a long night. The Niners can't find a way to slow them down. They're marching down the field. Because remember, they stopped them at the goal line on the first drive. The Niners did. But the truth is they marched down that field. And yeah, the Niners did a nice job at the goal line stop. Niners then took it back, got stopped at the goal line, and then on the very next offensive play for the Bills, they fumbled, and then that allowed the Niners to score. So Niners were catching early breaks, but it went back. Like as the game went on, they kept marching down and scoring. So it really didn't make much of a difference. But yeah, that was my venting session. Defense, I think, they did as good as they can with what they had. Defensive line, I wouldn't put too much blame on them. If you want to put some blame, I guess blame Kyle Shanahan. Like really blame the head coach. The offense, scored 24 points, but I feel like you have to help your defense out a little bit, control the clock more, use your star players. Don't try to use guys who are coming back, Tevin Coleman. There was McKinnon in there for like on third downs. I'm like, why not use Raheem Mostert, who is just an X factor just with his speed alone? Like McKinnon is used to running those Texas routes on third down, right? Because he's a catching receiver, or at least that's what we're accustomed to seeing now. But to be quite honest, he hasn't done much. And so just leave your stars, let them be your workhorse. And that's the 49ers' only shot at that point. So just to wrap up this video, the 49ers are still somewhat in the playoff picture, but they brought my hopes up last week, and then just to bring them back down. So I'm sticking to my guns. I don't think the Niners make the playoffs. Like I thought about that 2 weeks ago, and then they beat the Rams, and everyone just started like, oh, and then the Cardinals lost, and Chicago lost, so they were just still in the hunt. And if they would have won this game, they would have been on a 3-way tie. But another part of me is kind of relieved that the 49ers lost, because if it would have got to the end, it's just too much for my anxiety. But anyways, guys, let me know what you thought about the game. Leave your comments in the comment section below. Just another tough loss, and I'm just another sad 49er fans. Anyways, thanks for watching. See you on the next one, guys. Peace.